Hello, welcome to 21st Century Football, a complete guide to football since the year 2000. My name's Adam Brown, and we're back again to discuss one of the most iconic players of the 21st century. This is going to be a good one. With me, Mr. Statman Dave. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Bit of Zizou. Get pumped for that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You excited?
Yeah. I'm more excited about him as a manager than a player, but that's just me.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that's a controversial start, I think. Straight in with he's more excited about him as a manager than a player. That's going to raise a few eyebrows, and it will.
I think so, yeah. I'd also like to add my own controversial opinion. I don't think he's actually changed in appearance in 30 years. Sort of like the Lord Voldemort, like a sexy Lord Voldemort.
There you go. That's a good way of...
Has he ever aged?
Well, yeah, but I don't think he looks like he has.
No, he's not. That's about it. Will Brazier joining us today.
Thanks.
That's his first one, Sexy Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
Straight in with that. Of course, we are talking today about a man who is undoubtedly one of the most iconic players of the 21st century, Zinedine Zidane, Zizou himself. As always on this podcast, we're going to start by taking a bit of a deep dive into his Wikipedia page. It's always nice to get some truths. I mean, it can be edited by anyone, but let's just say that all things on for the sake of argument, are true. Will, what have you got?
Zinedine Zidane was born 23rd of June 1972, more commonly known as Zizou. He's a French former professional footballer who played as an attacking midfielder. He's currently the manager of La Liga club Real Madrid, and Dave is one of the most successful managers in the world. You were knocking his managerial credentials.
No, I'm saying I think he's in the 21st century. I'd regard him as a better manager than a player.
Yeah, that's what
which
I meant.
is pretty big.
Cool, man. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, Zidane was an elite playmaker, renowned for his elegance, vision, passing, ball control, and technique. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I completely wholeheartedly agree with it. Elite, I think it's a great word to describe Zidane.
Elegance as well. I think when you get to those French footballers, they just have beautiful descriptions. In 1996, he moved from Juventus, where he won trophies, including 2 Serie A titles. He moved to Real Madrid for a world record fee at the time of €77.5 million, which remained unmatched for the next 8 years. In Spain, Zidane won several trophies, including a Liga title, a UEFA Champions League. In 2002, how could we forget, he scored that left-footed volley, which won them the game against Bayer Leverkusen. Is that the greatest goal in a final of all time?
I think it's right up there. It's incredible.
Let's get into it.
The Gareth Bale overhead kick in recent years was disgusting, but this one was brilliant. Technique, poise, elegance, at the right time, elegance,
vision.
The ball from Carlos. It was a great goal.
Capped 108 times by France, Zidane won the 1998 FIFA World Cup, scoring twice in the final, and was named in their all-star team. The triumph made him a national hero, and he received the Legion of Honour in 1998. He also won Euro 2000, a great competition, and was named player of the tournament. In 2004, he was named in the FIFA 100, a list of the world's greatest living players compiled by Pelé.
That bloody list again.
It comes up everywhere, doesn't it?
How many goals he scored? How is he supposed to keep track of this list?
Well, we can't trust that list because...
El Hadj Diouf's on it.
Exactly, and that just null and voids the list straight away. But it does not null and void what a player he was.
No, he's incredible. I mean, we're talking about generational talents. Someone who's been arguably a leader of, football culture in some ways. And Zidane, for me, is just... He was operating on an entire different level at times, I think. I mean, you don't seem convinced, David. There's some first expressions that he's throwing out.
I think arguably he was better at Juve, but we're not allowed to speak about that. I think his peak was at Juventus, but I think he still was sensational. I think I'd say his peak was probably 1998, around that time, 99. Very early 2000s, where he was absolutely fantastic. But don't get me wrong, he was still brilliant at Real Madrid, and the Champions League was obviously the highlight of that. But I think we saw a better Zizou before.
I think one of the things I always think is a good measure of a player is that on previous episodes we've always kind of managed to find a flaw in most players in terms of their abilities on the pitch. There's nothing that he couldn't do, really. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get players that have got that elegance and that vision and that creativity, and sometimes you might think, oh well, maybe it's the
hold on, my video, which I'm going to play you guys, that's got to be a flaw.
All right,
World Cup final.
Right,
someone was on the floor.
No, what about from a technical perspective in terms of?
I tell you what, that headbutt was technically perfect. The way that he hit the solar plexus, flattened Materazzi after he'd been talking about his mother, brilliant.
He absolutely nailed that. I mean, the vision to manage to land that headbutt so clean was incredible.
But I just think more surprisingly and shocking in that final is the fact that he's chipping a penalty down the middle of the goal in a World Cup final.
Yeah.
I struggle to do that. We used to have a game against our two middle schools, lots of pressure on it because you'd sort of, you'd be king of the Midlands.
Yeah.
And I was sweating going up to that. He's doing it in a World Cup final.
Yeah. You didn't dare do it in the Midlands game.
I missed.
Did you? Did you try it?
Yeah, I missed.
That's-
I didn't do the pen. I just
I
missed.
was going to say. I thought you'd do it. I thought it was
No, I
gutsy.
just missed.
You could handle pressure.
No, I can't. I'm the opposite of a diamond.
But so, I mean, this is what I mean about him in terms of he would try things like that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think maybe it was because it was towards the end of his career as well. And I don't think he just thought like, F it, let's chip it. But
Do you think he's the kind of person that did it so people will be talking about it? Or do you think he's like, because that's not the best way to take a penalty, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it depends on the situation. If the keeper goes either way, you've scored.
yeah, but you could do the Troy Deeney and blast it down the middle.
But the Troy Deeney, is that as effective as the chip?
But I'd say it's more effective, yeah.
But then if you get the right angulation...
Yeah, but you're not if the keeper doesn't move, you're not going to chip the keeper.
But if you blast it down the middle, the keeper's probably going to save it.
No, but you could like knock his hand out.
How powerful is your shot?
No, but if you're
What do you have for breakfast that day?
If you're one of the world's best players, as he was at the time, and you think, all right, he's going to power top corner,
Yeah.
unstoppable potentially,
Yeah.
Or
That's what I
bottom
mean,
corner,
yeah.
full power, it's going to. I mean, the keeper's got a chance of getting it if he gets it right.
Scientifically, bottom corner with your foot, strongest foot into that corner away from the goalkeeper is the great technique. So maybe he didn't, but I think the elegance.
Do you think he liked the idea of going up? People will be talking about this.
No, I don't think so. I think he was bigger than that. I think that it didn't matter. He didn't need to say anything because of how beautiful he was on the pitch and how he could control things, how he could maneuver the ball and control the tempo of a game of football. I think that's the incredible thing about Zinedine Zidane was just a brilliant attacking midfielder and continued that ilk of French midfielders, talking Platinis and dominant attacking mids that France have had through their history.
Do you know what I liked about him?
I just noticed you had a wry smile, so I'm very
I just think he's a hard one as well. Like, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you get players that like they've got this kind of skill and this elegance about them on the field, and they're not always players that are regarded as being tough or durable players. But even though he had that kind of that air of being a maverick and he wasn't a luxury player, but he had those qualities of what some, let's say, inverted commas, luxury players would have. You wouldn't mess with him, would you?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because he feels like he could take the tackles. He could he don't mind getting involved. He kind of rough it with the best of them. I love that about him.
Yeah, and I think that comes. We were speaking off air about his like stature and the height of him to have that sort of elegance, vision.
Yeah.
To do that at 6'1",
and people think you're 6'4",
yeah,
which is great.
I'd have killed for those qualities as a man who's 6'5", who does not have vision or elegance.
Yeah.
It seems to be about 5'4" on the football pitch.
Oh, he's so. Can you believe it?
I'm just gonna stick to the subject of the podcast. Okay. If that's all right.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Zidane and his career. Obviously, the move to Madrid. Well, you've got a bit of a stat for us, haven't you?
Yeah, in 2001, Zidane moved to Real Madrid from Juventus. The move was expected to happen, but what may have shocked many people is the transfer fee. The transfer fee is $81 million. So it was 77.5 million euros and $81 million to those keeping ball at home, which was a record high at the time.
Worth it, 100%.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think very much so for Real Madrid. Obviously, it was in the Galactico period. They were spending a hell of a lot of cash. Got to get the best player in the world at that point. They had Ronaldo up front. They had a whole host of superstars. Roberto Carlos previously mentioned. Like Zizou was the guy that was it. Florentino Perez,
So yeah, they were like it was like a football version of the Avengers, wasn't it?
Yeah, no,
Galacticos.
Definitely.
Who do you see him as more of a sort of a?
I've only just started getting into the Avengers, sorry.
Come on, Will, you just get MCU.
For me, it's either Wonder or Vision, and I don't think it's neither of them, I don't think.
No, but he was definitely a part of that.
He was quite controlling like Wonder is.
Okay.
Does that work?
He was controlling the play, much like she would on the pitch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Unless, David.
Sorry, man, I only watch football.
Oh, here we go. There you go.
Wow.
Try to get down that.
I was just thinking that gets you. What we like to do is sort of put it into today's value, and that gets you half of Coutinho.
Half of Coutinho.
That's ridiculous. I mean, but let's try and put a ballpark figure into it here. What would it be worth in today's market? If he was
prime?
Yeah.
So he's sort of mid-icon card on FIFA, probably about 200 mil.
What do you reckon, Dave?
He's better than Neymar.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we get the big money these days for the goals.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like you have a massive goal scoring season and you move. And that was never really Zizou's game.
But if you think of like
so you're
someone...
thinking maybe like a Kevin De Bruyne number?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So like 80, 90, 100 million, probably? I wouldn't say it's the same price as like a Messi or Ronaldo because of the goals.
But so you think it's like a similar figure to what United paid for Pogba? It's got to be more than that.
I think that would be quite a decent round number in a sense of the, what he brings to the pitch. It is the creativity, it is the assists. There's a number of seasons where he's over 10 assists in the competition, which is similar to a Paul Pogba, similar to a Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I think what's very telling as well throughout his career is one of the key highlights is he had a film made about him, which is literally just 90 minutes of him playing football with different camera angles. And I think that's the mark of the man, that, you can sit there. I don't even think there's any commentary on it. You just watch him play football.
No drum and bass over the top of it?
No. It's quite artistic, Dave. You might like it.
Yeah, no, 100% I like it. I think that shows him that you can watch him for 90 minutes and you will as a young player maybe coming up, you'd see so much stuff that you could add to your own game. Technically, probably 10 out of 10 in terms of what he can do on the ball. He's got a skill named after him, the roulette, the Zidane turn as it's known now. Mm-hmm. But it is like one of the things that I picture when I think of Zinedine Zidane is just his ability to bring a high ball out the air, first touch, bring it down, cushion it.
Do you know what? It's a good point actually about it's such a Zidane thing to have a film where it's just 90 minutes of him playing football. I always think of him very much as like no gimmicks kind of player in an era where gimmicks were prevalent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where there was always someone had an angle, or there was this endorsements going on or whatever. Zidane had those things, but it was never like something which defined him, I don't think.
But they were always like premium gimmicks, weren't they? So if it was like, it was the new Predator and you'd want that. He was like the king of the European? He was like the king of the European Predator because, we got Beckham over here, but Zidane, that's all I can think of when I think of those boots.
Yeah, but it was very much like his football did the talking.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
But as well, like a lot of the thing we haven't even mentioned, in the 21st century, you could argue that he's renowned as a manager over a player. We're talking the spell at Real Madrid, the first manager ever to win back-to-back, and he won it 3 times in a row, the Champions League. Unprecedented.
And as well, it's like the third stage of Galacticos, what he had, like to manage a team of Bale, Ronaldo, et al.
Benzema.
It almost must take someone like him who can show his honours and his CV for them to give them the respect.
There was a big problem with Real Madrid not doing it. The La Decima fell apart pretty quickly after that. They all turned on Carlo, even though Carlo was an unbelievable coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think Zidane was the assistant there, learned his sort of managerial ethics at the Castilla, the B team at Real Madrid. And then he did something that was great. We all know that Messi and Ronaldo are the 2 best players on the planet. But to get them to function within a system and a team for a consistent period of time is absolutely incredible. And the way that Zidane started off with a 4-3-3, Ronnie on the left-hand side, then moved to a diamond to accommodate him closer to goal, getting Isco at number 10 because there were so many 4-4-2s that were played, counter of that, and then going back to the 4-3-3 for the last final was unbelievable. And the balance that midfield had, the team was basically perfect. I don't think there's a hole in that team at all. And that is credit to him as a coach. And that's something that we probably will reflect on in 10 years' time. Wow, Zinedine Zidane in that period was incredible. Obviously, it's a very different Real Madrid now because of different constraints, Ronaldo leaving and so forth. Mm-hmm. But that team was so dominant for 3 years. Kroos, Modric, Casemiro, probably going to be one of the best midfields. And Zidane built that.
I think as well, it probably reflects a deeper level of intelligence to his game. The fact that we've seen countless times before great players who have never been able to make that step up to management because they can't implement what their vision is, or they can't get players to do what they want them to do, or they get frustrated by players not being able to do what they could do when they were playing. But Zidane obviously has such a sound understanding of the game because he's played at that highest level, and he's managed to be able to communicate that to his... it's helped that he's had great players, but like you said, Dave, it's one thing having a player, it's another thing to actually implement a system where they're all firing.
But you think about the great coaches he worked under as well. He had pretty much everything. He had the perfect sort of training for this, technique, ability. So any questions on the training ground of doing anything, Zidane could just do it, right?
Whoa, what are you doing? If you got this far into the YouTube video, you probably want some more. So wherever you listen to your podcast, go and listen to the full thing, link in the description, and we will rate the subject of this podcast. What's he drinking? Are we drinking with him? 5-a-side, and how iconic is he?